more room over here. There's a spot in front of Lindsay. If you guys want to slide in. Good afternoon. Thanks for all being here today. It's a packed room, and I appreciate the support that we have in our media for covering this news. Please accept my apology for not being able to comment on our men's basketball program the last couple of weeks. I know that was requested, but we felt we needed to stay the course and approach it the right way. Before I start, I want to thank our players for their toughness, their focus this season, in the off season, this summer, and what they've done for this program to get us back on track here very, very, very soon. And then our fans. Thanks our fans, and I apologize for this situation, but that's the nature of athletics, as we said here today. We have great student athletes, great fans, and that's why I love coming to work every single day and doing what we do in athletics. There's nothing better than our jobs in athletics. Before I start our discussion at hand and why we have a full room, let me talk about last night's game. Bizarre ending. I've seen a few of those in my tenure, from a Gonzaga-UCLA comeback where we won the game late when I was at UCLA, to other bizarre things. But that one right there, the last 21 seconds could not have been more crazy in terms of our fans almost on the court and watching some of those clips. Very bizarre. But it's unfortunate we lost a game like that. About 9:20 last night, I did talk to Mike Wood, the supervisor of officials for the Sun Belt Conference, and Mike is a pro. And if you look up his background, that man has done everything in officiating, and he's our supervisor. We hired him a few years ago, and I'm telling you, our officiating has and will get better with Mike's leadership. Mike and I spoke. He had not watched the film yet, but he had heard about it already within about 10 minutes. He had heard about it. The officials called him, and he said, once we watch the film, let's talk again. We talked 4 or 5 times last night, as late as about midnight, watching the film together before and after. He watched it as well, and he confirmed there were indeed 6 players on the court. He confirmed that should not happen in officiating, and I know that Mike will handle it the right way. The conference will handle it the right way. I believe there's a statement that will be released or has been released already, and they'll deal with it appropriately. It's a sad way to lose a game, and I know our guys were distraught over it, but we have to move forward. It's part of what happened. So my job is to act as a steward of the program. Bottom line, provide the resources where we can compete at the highest level, maximize our capabilities, maximize our performance on and off the court in all of our sports. And so we have to make decisions for the university. We have to make decisions for our student athletes. Bottom line. Removing a head coach in the middle of the year is not my general philosophy. I spoke to the continuity. Last year I cited that specifically of why we retained Coach McDonald last year. We needed continuity. That's what builds long-term success. And I still believe in that philosophy. However, today we are making the right decision. We're making the right decision to restore our program back to where it belongs, back to Hilltopper Nation, what they believe in, back to our players, and we must get back on the course for success. Honestly, before long-term damage could set in, the healing process starts now. We have to turn the page. Any athletic director never wants to have these type of gatherings among friends, but we have to do it. It's part of our job. We never want to see anyone fail. I believe, honestly, that I did everything in my power the last year and a half to put us in a position for success. I truly believe that. This morning, as all of you know, we did release Ken McDonald as our head basketball coach. President Ransdale and I met with him at around 8:15 this morning, informed him of that decision. It was my decision that I confirmed with the president after last night's game, and he supported and agreed with the decision. We want to thank Ken for what he's done for this program in his 8+ years of service as an assistant and as our head coach. We wish him well in the future. From that meeting, we met with Coach Harper, and we asked him to serve as our interim head coach. We then met with and informed the entire men's basketball staff of the decision, and we told them we expect them to continue their duties as assigned from this point forward. After we met with the staff and with Coach Harper, we met with the players at 9:30 this morning. We got them out of bed. They told me last night they weren't going to wake up until about 10 o'clock, but we prompted that with a text and a phone call around 8:30 this morning. But we got them out of bed and we met with them, and it was important that they heard it directly from us. We released our press statement once that meeting started, but I told them the reasons for the decision and the reason why we reached this conclusion now. They were suffering in this environment, and we had to do something to get them out of it, and that was the decision we made. I told them, and they know this because we recruited them along this premise, they signed up for a great program. The banners that hang, the championships that we represent, the crowds that we can deliver, that's what they signed up for. And it's our job to provide that for them. They're the #1 priority. That's the bottom line. Coach Harper will serve as our interim head coach the rest of the year. He will assume all responsibilities as a head coach, from game planning to recruiting to academics to organizational operations. Ray's got a proven success as a head coach. He's done it. He's been there. He's won. We're excited to see what might happen under his direction. I think we'll see some new energy. We've already had a buzz in our ticket office of people calling to request tickets for tomorrow's game and the rest of the season, so I think we're going to see our fans and our players respond in a positive way. We are not giving up on this season. We are not giving up on this season. We have 13 games left. There's a lot to accomplish this year and beyond for this entire team. The famous reset. I think I owe a few people some pain and anguish for accelerating that term, but that was my term that I chose last spring when I said we were hitting the reset button. And I truly believe that after an assessment of our program that we could regroup. We could get better. We had mistakes. We could overcome them. We could regroup and get this program to where we thought it could be under Ken's leadership. We had some downward trends. We recognize that. We acknowledge those. But we saw a lot of positive things happening in the spring, in the summer, the fall. I believe people recognize that externally as well as internally, inside this building and on campus, and we thought we were on the right course. I believe that Ken deserved a chance to start a new season. That was my true belief as we went into last spring. However, the season progressed, and I believe our patterns and our ills of the past caught up to us. The confidence level of our program started to diminish. The statistics of our performance and our fan support, well documented. I'm not going to get into all those, but those facts are unacceptable for this program at WKU. We can't continue down that course. There was no way we could do it. Our program now needs a new voice to move forward. The identity that I spoke to, the confidence, the respect locally and nationally, frankly, our public support, the academics, the overall perception of this program has to dramatically improve starting today, and that's why we're here. Dr. Cherry founded the university in 1906, and he said, this is pretty smart back in 1906, he said that our campus, our university, must be based on real merit, we must be progressive in all methods, and we must impart a burning zeal to be and do something with our students. He said that in 1906. Those fundamentals still apply. That's what WKU is all about. It's about greatness, and that's why we're here. Moving forward, we need new energy in our program. We need an infusion of new energy in our program. Leadership, energy. Leadership that's ever present in developing these young men as students and as athletes here on the Hill. Leadership that puts us back in a position to compete for and win championships. And leadership that puts us in the NCAA tournament and advances in the NCAA tournament. The process of identifying our next head coach will begin immediately after this session is over. Our search has to be national in scope. Our program is high profile. It will attract great candidates It has to be a national search. We will not be defined by a scope, if you will. We will focus on the best coach that fits WKU. Fits WKU. That will be our sole charge and our sole focus. We have so much to offer that we can get into that list of what all those things are. The next head coach comes into a foundation where the last 11 head coaches have been to an NCAA tournament. We will attract top flight candidates for this job. There's much to offer. Our timeline is not going to be defined. We're not going to say we're hiring a coach by X date. However long or short it takes to find the right person is what we have to do. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions from our media.
How did Coach McDonald react?
It was tough. It was tough because, it happened pretty fast, this morning. So anytime, I've never been in that situation on that side of it, so it was a tough blow, I think, to him. But I also, believe that any coach, and we talk to our assistants about this, understand that we're in a business that's high profile and people demand results, and so I believe that he understood that.
Ross, in hindsight, is this a move that you wish you would have made at the end of last season instead of now?
No. Last season I thought we had enough facts, enough data to back up and to really define our process moving forward. And frankly, Ken was doing a really good job, doing a great job in the spring. We had a great semester academically. Last fall we had a 2.7 GPA, and that's way up from where we were last year. So we had a lot of positive things going. So no, I don't regret or wish we did something different last spring whatsoever. At that time, that was the right decision, and today's the right decision.
Well, you talked about the healing process beginning now and not giving up on the season. What is the main? What has to happen for this to begin healing right now in your thoughts right now for it to happen?
To me, we need energy in our program. We need energy in our building. We had 1,800 people. It was the actual attendance last night. You always bump that, right? In sports, you can count staff and things like that, but we had 1,800 people in our building last night. So we need energy in our building. I believe that the team needs an infusion of energy. They need a positive voice at this point in time, and that's what we're looking forward to. How many games we're going to win, we have no idea. But I know in looking at these guys in the eye this morning and seeing their pain and anguish the last few weeks, I believe that they're gonna focus, and we're going to see something. Now, we get into the Sun Belt. We have 2 tough road games after we play Troy. I hope we do well, and I believe that these guys are going to do everything in their power to get us back to what we believe in.
Russ, was there any one game or moment that ultimately led you to make this decision?
Not necessarily. I mean, last night's game, to be sitting here today is somewhat, different, if you will, because of the way we lost that game. But we had to do what's right for the program and the bottom line. And there was not any one particular thing. I think it goes back to what I spoke of, the pattern, and just some of the things were creeping back in. And it's tough when you're losing. It's tough to have the confidence to perform at a certain level on the court and off the court when you're losing games. And so if you're fragile and those things start happening, then that's a tough situation. But there was not one particular instance. This week, a lot of thought, conversation, and we confirmed our decision last night, late last night after the game, and move forward with today's activities.
I guess, say if WKU would have won last night, would that have changed the decision at all, or what was the timeline or the plan for that?
Well, I made this comment about our football program. One game doesn't define any coach by any means, but I think it's an overall body of work. And so the timing of it, we couldn't really predict that. We had certain ideas on when things might come together, but it's hard to speculate. I wish we would have won the game last night. We had a chance. We were right there at the end. We didn't, and we sat here today making the right decision based on a body of work.
What should the conference do about what happened last night? In your eyes, what would make it?
Well, they've already made statements that they made an error, and they admitted that it shouldn't have happened. Beyond that, they're going to handle it, I believe, internally. The punishment for those three officials, whatever that is, will not be public, from my understanding. And I believe them that they'll take stern action. I know Mike was not pleased, and I know the officials regret it. I mean, they do. They regret what happened because they try to be perfect. I officiated for 8 years in college and after college, so I know that if you miss a call, you live with that. I officiated at a much lower level in those junior high and high school games, but you know that you try to do your best, and those guys are human. And so I know they regret it, and they'll do the right thing from a conference and Mike Wood perspective.
What kind of conversations you Ken have over the last few weeks kind of regarding his job performance?
We met right before the Louisville game. During that off week that the university was closed, we met on that Thursday, and then I talked to Ken a lot, whether it's in passing, whether it's official meetings. I met with the basketball staff on Monday, and I talked about the things we just talked about. I think you asked, what needs to happen. I talked about energy. I talked about excitement. I talked about getting fans back in our building. And these guys know what WKU basketball is all about. They know the expectations. They know our fans want to see us do well and have a good basketball program, a great basketball program. So I don't think the expectation side of it catches anyone off guard. But we did have conversations over the last couple of weeks, and Ken and I have met a lot since I arrived.
How did the team react, and do you think this will affect any of the freshmen deciding to leave the program?
Well, they were tired this morning, so they were kind of slouched over a little bit in the chairs. But I saw a lot of head nodding in that meeting. I believe that they're excited about just turning the page and seeing what can happen these last 13 games in the tournament and beyond that. And as far as transferring, we'll talk to these guys. Coach Harper's already met with all of them one-on-one, and we want them to stay. We want them to get their degrees from WKU. We want them to be in our program. We believe they signed up for the program, and the program is the definition, not a coach. And so that's what our message will be to them, that we're going to hire a great head coach, whoever that might be, and we want them to continue in the program.
Ross, you mentioned making a change before any long-term damage was done. Could you describe what you mean by long-term?
Well, I think if you just look at our attendance trends as one element of that, you look at the financial implications of those trends, those are the type of damages you're talking about. But you're also talking about the confidence level of our team. You're talking about the confidence level of our fans, not just coming to a game, but following us and tracking scores and being supportive, and walking around town, being able to say, hey, WKU basketball is doing a great job. And so that type of damage in terms of our reputation overall in performance on and off the court, that's what I'm referring to when it comes to that.
Julianne Williams with Commonwealth Broadcasting. I just wanted to ask you, that the teams become close, they're a family, they grow close to each other, a head coach is like a father figure and things. What do you weigh in assessing what kind of damage will be done by breaking up the family at mid-season?
Well, and that's a very good question, and that's there's a lot of pressure to always make changes when something's not working from a perception standpoint, and so you have to be very careful when you do a mid-season change, very careful. And my inclination and my examination of their body language, examination of our confidence as a program, I thought was continuing to go downhill, and therefore today we made that decision. And so you have to always be careful of that, because that is one of the main reasons why you don't make a mid-season change, because we don't want them to think we're giving up on them, and we're not. But we had to do what we had to do to make the program get back on track. And I believe that these guys have great relationships with Coach Harper, Coach Brenneman, Coach Morton, with Andrew Theokas, and other staff members. So I expect them to come together. And they're the ones that can control what they can control in that room, and I believe they'll come together.
Last spring, both you and Ken acknowledged some off-the-court distractions regarding Ken. I guess, how much of this decision was made about off-the-court things, or was it solely an on-the-court product decision?
You know, I think those things were getting better, and I believe we were on the right path there. But it goes back to that confidence level that our fans have, that our university has in the leadership. So I think we were doing a better job, but that was always in the back of people's minds. And so it goes back to the body of work statement. It's part of the body of work that we had to analyze in this decision.
As the search begins following the press conference, might it include internal candidates?
Yes. Are you referring to anybody in particular?
Perhaps Coach Harper?
Coach Harper is a candidate, will be a candidate for this position. We will give him full consideration for this job, so I would classify him as a strong candidate for the head coaching position.
Ross, that was my question. If Harper was going to be considered, and you just answered that, you talked about wanting to see an infusion of energy. Can you talk about what is it you're hoping to see right out of the chute from the team as far as a difference?
Well, I think I've seen a pep in their just in their body language this morning. They were probably a little tired because they got out of bed, but I think we're going to see some excitement. I haven't talked to Coach Harper yet about style of play or if he's planning on changing anything from that perspective. I do know that when he addressed the team, he talked about changes. He talked about positive changes for the program, for the players, for how things are run. And so that gives me encouragement. And as we talked to him this morning, he talked about a few of those things. So we'll sit down later this afternoon or this evening and talk about stylistic changes that he might do. But they're going to have practice at 3:30. I'm sure they'll go over the game plan for Troy and start working on some of those things.
Russ, two questions. First thing, with taking one coach off the staff, will there be any duties switched around, or have you guys talked about that at all?
Coach Harper and I will talk about that this evening, about possibly moving someone up into a full-time coaching position to give us more work on the court, because we're one person short, and also recruiting as we go out there. So we haven't determined exactly what that'll be, but we'll talk about that later.
And also, as you look ahead, and you said to start the search after this session, have you thought about, obviously mid-season and guys you might want to talk to, or that? Will you try to talk to them during the season, or do you have a process yet in your mind?
Well, they're, head coaches obviously are coaching their team, so to have access to them will be difficult. We acknowledge that. Assistant coaches are a little more flexible when it comes to these processes, so we'll handle it the right way. We'll handle it confidentially. I'm sure there'll be a lot of blog postings and Twitter messages about candidates, but we will attract great candidates. We will handle it the right way in terms of contact and process. And there may be some coaches that say, I need to wait until my season is over, and we'll assess that with the rest of the pool to decide, do we wait or do we move forward with another candidate?
Some people may look at Ray Harper's past at Kentucky Wesleyan and notice that there were problems with the NCAA and some runner-up finish in the Division II final being vacated. I guess, how do you respond to that, and how do you defend him during people bring that up?
Performance-wise, performed at a high level. I've read the case that you're referring to in great detail, and I'm confident that Coach Harper was okay in that process. He did leave the program, but we talked about that, and I'm confident in what happened and in that whole process.
Will you be handling the search for head coach directly, or will you pass that on to a search firm?
At this point, we will not hire a search firm. It'll be the athletic director running the search. I'll have some assistance from some key advisors, staff, and otherwise. And we're putting that process together right now. I will recommend a final candidate to our president for his approval. That's how it works, just like I recommended this decision to him. He's the boss, and so we'll go through that similar process, and I'll have some key people that will work with me.
In our modern day of technology, work is real fast. You don't have to send out resumes the way you used to. You don't have to send out solicitations for positions. Have you had anybody contact you so far about this position?
I haven't checked my email in the last couple hours, but I'm sure that there's interest out there, or I'm sure that there'll be contact through different channels, third-party, direct, whatever it might be. So I don't know what's on my email box at this point in time. Or Twitter messages. I got a lot of Twitter messages between the last couple weeks and now. So.
Anyone else? All right, thank you all very much.
Thanks,
And we will have Coach Harper in here.